everyone, welcome to Simple Life Strategies TV. I'm Zoe B, and today I have with me Susan Pearse, Hay House author. Susan and Martina Sheehan are the co-writers of the book Wired for Life, and Susan's going to chat to us about that today. So if you've ever wondered why some people really thrive in life and others struggle just to get by, then stick with this interview because Susan's going to answer some of those questions today, and it all starts with the brain. Welcome, Susan.
Hi, how are you, Zoe?
I'm good, thanks for being here. So what I thought we could start with before we get stuck into the book is a little bit about your company, Mind Gardener. And it's interesting because as a life coach, I always use the metaphor that the mind is like a garden, and it's you know, you have to kind of select which thoughts you're going to nurture and which negative ones you're going to weed out. So that really resonated with me when I heard that that was the name of your organisation. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So Mind Gardener, we're all about creating tools to help people cultivate a healthy and happy mind. And our main thing is really about getting that message out there that every person is a mind gardener. So whether they know it or whether they like it or not, they are a mind gardener. And by that, we just mean that every single moment you're cultivating your brain and you're shaping your life. And I think that's a really important message, and it is a message that people miss, because often I have people that kind of come up to me and say, yeah, I'm already mind gardening, I meditate in the morning or I go to yoga at night, but mind gardening is being, I guess, more concerned about the hours you spend out of meditation, out of reading the book or out of the personal development course, because you do more in that time to cultivate your brain and shape your life.
Right, so it's something that has to be really consistent rather than kind of just here and there.
Absolutely. So, I mean, if you were just to get up in the morning and do some affirmations around self-love, but for the rest of the day you were criticising yourself, you were being very judgmental towards yourself, you do more in that time to undo and to create some of that wiring.
Right, I really like this idea of maintaining a kind of a consistent, I guess, state of mind really, rather than, because I think people almost have that feeling, don't they, that if they spend that few minutes doing the meditation, then everything's fine. They can go and, you know, do whatever they want for the rest of the day, but it's not quite that simple, is it?
No, it's not. And it's really about, I always say, it's like I've become my brain's best friend, and I'm just constantly watching my mind throughout the day, because what I focus on is going to grow. And if I focus on my worries in the day or stresses, that's what will actually grow by the end of the day. So really getting a bit of a handle on that.
Yeah, and I actually read on your Facebook page a great tip where you use door frames. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think the biggest challenge with mind gardening and brain rewiring work is not the practices. They're quite simple practices, but it's remembering to do them. It's the discipline. So we use different techniques like anchoring your practice onto things that are familiar in your day. And the doorway is about every time you see a doorway, use that as a prompt to wake up your brain and become present. Because when you think about it, you would go through at least 30 doorways in a day. You know, the door to your office or bedroom or car or, you know, school pickup, whatever it might be, you're going through so many doorways. So it's a great reminder to be present.
I love that. So the doorway starts to trigger those positive moments of gratitude, I suppose, and just being present.
Yes, absolutely. And it kind of acts like mini, what we call pauses, where you're just emptying out your brain, but you're also making sure it's switched on whenever you come to a new thing.
Wonderful. That's a great tip. I'm going to try that one.
It's good.
Now, I also read that you had a chance encounter with the Dalai Lama on your journey. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes. I often say that a lot of people, you know, tend to create the things they needed at the time, and that was definitely the case in terms of Mind Gardener for Martina and myself. We met at a time or started this business when we were going through our quarter life crises, where we essentially, you know, very dissatisfied with the lives that we were leading and went on this search for happiness and meaning. And it actually took us to New York for all the wrong reasons. We were going for shopping, but we ended up at a conference where, you know, to our surprise, it was the Dalai Lama dialoguing with neuroscientists, so world-leading neuroscientists, neuropsychologists, psychiatrists. And it was about the time where they first started brain scanning monks. And because we had to go as gold sponsors to this, session, because it was all sold out, at the end of the conference, the Dalai Lama asked to actually meet everyone who was a gold sponsor. So we had Richard Gere on one side, we had Goldie Hawn on the other, and we got to meet His Holiness. And, interestingly enough, the gold sponsorship in those days was only like $50, more expensive than normal sponsorship. So it was just one of those things where everything just aligned, and it was an amazing experience.
Wow, that's a great tip. I'm going gold next time I see.
Yes, always go gold.
Incredible. And did you get a blessing from him? What happened when you met him?
Yes, we got some, time with him, and we had a short conversation, and I still laugh to this day because I grew up in North Queensland, and the Dalai Lama couldn't understand me, yet he could understand Martina, who has more of the, she was brought up in Melbourne, so we always laugh. I've got a North Queensland accent that the Dalai Lama couldn't understand. He had to keep asking his translator what I was saying.
I love it. Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
So moving forward to Wired for Life, tell us a little bit about that, and I guess what the premise of the book is.
Okay. So basically, it's about how you can create the wiring to lead the life that you want to live. And I think we're all looking for something different. Some people are looking for success. I think we're all looking for happiness, and certainly to have that fulfilled life. And there are certain traps that will hold you back. There are fears that are hardwired into all of us. So we go through what are those 5 fears, and how can you actually overcome them to create the life that you really want to be leading.
Wow. Can we go through those 5 fears now?
Absolutely. And so all of these fears were wired into our ancestors from the very first time that the brain evolved, because really our brain evolved for one reason, and that was for our survival. So all of these fears were very, very relevant to the first humans to keep them safe and surviving. But in the modern world, they actually do the opposite. They hold us back from thriving. So the first one is the fear of failure. So you can see that for our ancestors roaming the plains, it was very important that they didn't make mistakes. But in today's modern world, that when you operate from that view of always trying to protect and perfect yourself, you almost shut off any learning opportunities. And it really is important to learn how to fail. Otherwise, you're not going to learn in your life. And when you look back at the history of every, whether it's successful, happy person, there's been many, many failures. But what makes them stand out is that they can bounce back from that and actually grow from it. So that's the first one.
Yeah, that's a really huge one as well, isn't it? Pretty much everyone has experienced that.
Absolutely, and it holds us back in just, even the most smallest things, like I'm not going to even give that a try in case I get it wrong. And often when you look at the thing, what's the worst case scenario if you got that wrong? There is no implication, yet the fear really paralyzes us. So it's important to, with all these fears, see them arise, but then that whole saying of feel the fear and do it anyway, and actually start to create some different wiring that embraces the positive aspects of those fears.
Yeah, I have a saying. I like to say that failure is a prerequisite for success. It's almost like you need to fail, like to find out. You need to find out what you've done wrong so that you can therefore succeed. It's
Absolutely.
like a natural part of the journey.
Absolutely, and I think often failures are there to test us. And again, definitely in our history, you'll see times where you almost gave up. And again, that was the precursor to something really amazing taking off in your life. So it's important not to stop when you feel the fear.
Yeah, and I love what you were saying about, it's not about failing, but it's about how quickly you pick yourself up. And I think there's a great saying, it might be by Confucius or someone like that, a true measure of a man is not how often he fails, but how quickly he picks himself back up again. And it's so true, isn't it? Yeah, okay. What's number 2?
The second one is the fear of losing control. And I think, again, all of us have that small element of control freak in ourselves. And again, it may show up in different areas of our lives, but it happens because the brain loves certainty. And where certainty doesn't exist, the brain almost creates these tricks to try and create elaborate plans within your own head and then try and mold the external world so it fits with the plans in our head. And we know that that's, for one, extremely exhausting to make the external world try to fit with this plan in your head, but also the downside of it is often it is the times where you let go of the plans where the magic really happens. Again, if I look back and talk to people who have, you know, got to a point where they're leading fulfilled lives, the amazing things like the Dalai Lama story were off plan. They weren't actually in these plans, but we fall into this trap of going A plus B is going to equal C, and the world doesn't actually work like that. So letting go of control, highly recommended.
Yeah, that's so true, and I see that with a lot of people that I work with. Uncertainty is just the worst thing. Like, people just avoid it like the plague. You know, it's almost, and with goal setting especially, I completely get where you're coming from, because sometimes we can become so rigid with our goals that we miss out on the opportunities that are there because we're so focused and trying to control.
Absolutely, and it almost blinds us. So, I mean, I think the tip with goals is set the goals as intentions, but then come back and ground yourself in the reality of what's actually happening. Because if you get too fixated on it, all your attention sees is everything related to that goal, and there could be this amazing thing, you know, left field that you just don't even spot. So it's really important to ground yourself back in the present reality of what's unfolding.
Yeah, and you can't plan life, can you? And why would you want to? You know, that's like, that's the magic. That's where the magic happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So moving on to number 3.
Fear of standing out. So again, this is one that I think a lot of people can relate to. So many people say, you know, if they had to talk in front of a group, it would feel like death to them. Or, you know, if they had to offer an opinion that was contrary to a whole group of people around them, that would also be very intimidating. And again, back to our ancestors' days, it's all based in that thing of safety in numbers, and the brain still thinks that if you blend in, if you don't stand out, you're going to be safe. And again, in the modern world, it's almost the opposite, that if you want to be, you know, if you want to have a business, for example, that really gets some cut through, you need to stand out. Just like if you want to be a person who's authentic to themselves, you need to stand out and stick to your own, you know, values and sets of rules.
Yeah, definitely. And I was actually speaking to a speaker coach not too long ago, and she told me that the number one fear is public speaking. It's number one over everything else.
Absolutely. I wouldn't be surprised at all. I get that same type of feedback. And again, this is one, and I've had all these fears at some stage in my life, and for this one of standing out, it's just about being able to say yes more. If you're given an opportunity, don't back away from it. Actually say yes, because once you've done it, we all know that we look back on the experiences and go, you know, wow, that was actually something great for me.
Yeah, so you've just got to get out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
Number 4, I think we're up to, aren't we?
Yeah. So that's the fear of missing out, and definitely as women, we experience this with shopping, that when, you know, the sales assistant says, this is the last one in your size or the last pair of shoes, our brain goes, I've got to have it, even though I don't necessarily need it. And again, highly relevant for our ancestors when there was a lot of scarcity, but really in the modern world, it's not competition and scarcity that makes us go forward. It's about thinking abundantly and also cooperating and collaborating with people. So again, that real shift in focus about there is enough to go around, and I just, you know, need to be true to myself and grab my bit and not worry about what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, FOMO. You know, it's such a big phase now, and I think I'd be interested to hear what your thoughts are with regards to social media and technology, because it feels to me like that's just, you know, fueling the flames of FOMO, because you can't do anything without seeing what everyone in the world is up to. Yeah,
and I think that's true, and I think people have reported that things like, you know, seeing people's so-called realities on Facebook is leading to people becoming more anxious and depressed and that sort of thing. And I think that's that fear at play, and these fears will always arise, but it's important to recognise them and say, well, no, I'm just going to stick to my path, and it's not about having the latest gadget or doing what everyone else is doing. It's just about my path, and that's really empowering.
Yeah, I love that saying. What what you think of me is none of my business.
Yes.
It's a good way to, like you said, just really focus on your own stuff, you know, don't worry about what anyone else is doing.
Absolutely.
Don't get sucked into competitors and, you know, getting jealous about what everyone else is up to. Just stay focused with what you're doing, and you'll avoid that FOMO.
Absolutely.
And what's the final fear?
The last one is the fear of facing the truth, and probably the quickest and best way to summarise that one is it's the victim mentality. Everyone knows someone who's one of those victims, and in our lives you will probably all see an area of your life where you're the victim, where you are blaming external circumstances for where you are in your life. So, you know, you might be, oh, it's my parents, it's the weather holding me back, it's timing that's holding me back, it's all these things, rather than actually embracing the fact that we all can achieve anything that we want. We have the power in all of us to be able to step up, take that personal responsibility and achieve the life that we all want to lead. And it's only when you jump out of that victim space and you face the truth that you do have that power that you will see amazing results.
Yeah, so it's really about taking responsibility for your life, ultimately.
Absolutely. And, you know, the thing with the victim thing, that often there are some bad things that occur to us in our results, but as soon as we focus on that thing, what you focus on grows. So if you focus on an external blockage, you will become more blocked and more blocked. So the most empowering thing to do is to spot it, but actually go, what is the thing that I can do about this, and keep all your focus and attention there, because where your attention goes, your energy flows, and that's where you want it to be flowing on what you want to create, not what your blockages are.
Yeah, so it's about getting out of your head, I guess becoming more aware, and then taking action and taking control, doing something that can...
Absolutely. And I think that's the key with all of the mind training that we talk about. It's about getting out of your head. Mm-hmm. We have 70,000 thoughts a day, 12,000 internal conversations, and all of that thinking we're not even aware of, but it is shaping our lives. So the key with all of the brain training is getting out of your head and becoming more present, more purposeful, focusing on our strengths, focusing on healthy mindsets, all of the things that are going to lead to the life we want. Because really, our thoughts, 95% of them are the same ones we had yesterday. So if you stick with them, you're going to create your yesterday, not what you want your future to be.
Yeah, I love that. And would you say, is brain training something that everyone has to do? Like, is it harder for some, easier for others? What's your opinion on that?
And this is the one where I say with the message behind Mind Gardener is you are doing brain training whether you know it or not. So even when you are unconsciously going through your day worrying about something or all these what-if scenarios, you are training your brain. So why not get in the driver's seat and actually start driving your brain to what you want to create? And it can be very difficult at first. I remember when I started this journey probably 13 years ago now, when I first did meditation, I got meditation rage because I had so much busyness. But you just start with small moments. And if you can train your brain to be present in just one moment a day, you will see some massive progress.
Yeah, so it's the key. I mean, I find this as well. Sometimes people will try and, you know, start meditating for half an hour, and you've got to start small. You've got to start with like 5 minutes, you know, something small.
Yeah, and I think, we often jump to that thing about, oh, I've got to be like a Zen master and have no thoughts. You will always have thoughts. Your brain throws up thoughts every 6 to 10 seconds. So that's always going to be happening. It's just how quickly, again, it's like the bouncing back, how quickly you return your brain to being attentive and present.
Yeah, I love that. And I often say to my clients as well, you know, you have a choice. Either you take control of your mind or it takes control of over you. So, you know.
And I think that's a massive revelation in itself. And I know 15 years ago, I would have had no idea that you could have control over your brain. So that's the first step, to actually realise that you can control it. It doesn't have to be controlling you all the time. And I think we don't place enough emphasis on things like brain training and mind training. And really, when you think about it, your brain's your most powerful resource. Your attention and what you pay attention to is the most powerful thing that you'll have in your life. So we really need to do a lot to nurture it.
Yeah, so it's about putting aside that time and getting strategic about almost, I mean, I have this vision, I don't know if you agree with me, where I think people in the future will start to schedule in time for mental exercise as well as physical exercise, you know? It'll be almost just like going to the gym, you know? I've got to get up and do my 20 minutes of mental exercise. And I think, I just can't even imagine how different the world would be if people did actually do that.
So right, that's absolutely right. And I mean, even if you can't start by dedicating those chunks of time, this is where that doorway exercise comes in handy, because they are mini meditations. The 3 seconds that you spend becoming present through a doorway, if you add that up over all your doorways, that's a pretty big chunk of meditation. You don't have to take separate time to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. So it makes it more manageable for people and easier, something for them to really start with.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, you can get that meditative practice in while you're cooking, chopping the vegetables, vacuuming the house, you know, all of these mundane things that we're doing are opportunities to train your brain to be present.
Yeah, I love that. And I was actually just going to ask you for a simple strategy, because that's what we're all about, simple life strategies, to help people overcome that. And I think you've kind of just answered that, and that, you know, the simple thing that you can do is use the doorway technique and just use that as an anchor to remind you to just stay present and really come back into your body almost and out of the mind. And I think that's a great tip. Yeah, wonderful.
I think I'd just add to that to try and do some exercises early in the morning, because how you set your brain up for the day is indicative of how it's going to continue. And I think a lot of us wake up with our mental to-do list there and our brains racing before we've even, you know, climbed out of bed. So doing something early in the morning, even if it's like mindfully brushing your teeth, whatever it might be, to start slowing that mind down from the get-go.
Yeah, incredible. I love that. Well, thank you so much. And how can people get their hands on a copy of your wonderful book?
Yes, they're available in all good bookstores, as they say, or book. They're available on iBooks and Amazon, or you can go to our website, which is www.mindgardener.com, because we have mobile apps and all different tools that just make mind gardening a lot easier and simpler. So
wonderful. Well, I highly recommend everyone goes and grabs a copy, because it just sounds incredible. And you've got that, what I love about it is you've got the science and the research to back it up, but also the practical steps so that people can start implementing.
Absolutely. And I think earlier we were inspired that you go to a lot of these conferences and you go, wow, I need this, but you don't have the simple practices to put it into place, and that's what we were really inspired to do.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Susan. I've really enjoyed chatting to you, and I hope everyone goes and grabs a copy of your book. I certainly will be doing that. It sounds incredible. And thank you everyone for watching today. I would love to hear what you think about this discussion. If you've got any fears that you'd like to share with us, or maybe just let us know if the fears that Susan mentioned today have resonated with you, what your experiences have been, that would be wonderful. If you can leave a comment below the video here, or you can jump over to simplelifestrategies.com and leave a comment underneath the post there. If this video has inspired you, please do share it with your friends and family and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And if you'd like to sign up to Simple Life Strategies emails each week, please do go over to simplelifestrategies.com, where you can sign up for those as well. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Simple Life Strategies TV. I'm Zoe B, and I'll catch you next time.